Hey, how's it going, guys? Just trying to make sure all of the audio stuff is fine here. Now, admittedly, this particular game, American Civil War, it's going to be quite low for now. I want to go ahead and move the image out of the way here, and we're going to try to get a game capture, but we'll probably stick to the usual display capture, especially since this is an AGOD game, so I don't think we can actually capture the specific window and get all of the information. We'll find out, though. No, so we're going to have to go for display capture. Fair enough. So we're pretty comfortable with that. And, of course, we'll be getting started pretty soon here. Somebody mentioned, or Dally, that was Dally. How you doing, man? Somebody mentioned that they heard stuff in the background. Yeah, that's weird. Very strange. Put up the mic volume. There we go, guys. See if that's a little bit better. Alright, we could raise it a bit more. I'll make sure this is good. That's better by a lot. Awesome. Thanks, Zach. So at this point, I think we'll give it a few minutes, and then we'll jump into the game. Of course, I'll give you guys a look here at the scenarios. I'm not going to actually voice anything over for this part. I'm just going to mouse over them, sort of little by little, and I hope that you guys read as quickly as I do. We're not going to be doing any of these tutorials, so we'll just skip them. And there's a lot of choices. So we're not going to vote on these choices. That would take too long, but we will vote. Oh, there's my alarm. We will vote on what side we play as, etc. So let's go ahead and decide that. And if you guys want to give your suggestions here, please, by all means, do, as to what you'd like to see. We already did, our last campaign, we played as General Grant, and we won in Georgia. Actually, Sherman. And we actually won in Georgia with a major victory. So maybe this time we could try something a little tougher. But we have so many things to choose from. And admittedly, I do have all the DLC for the game. So I am skipping over a few of these. The Gettysburg battle scenario is quite a short one. We could try that one. And that's Make Georgia Howl. That's the one we won with Sherman. With Grant, damn it. I always mess up the two. So, we've got a lot of choices here. Of course, a ton of choices, as a matter of fact. I vote Finland, says Dally. I'm not surprised. Huh, that is weird. Sounds like someone doing some building work in the background. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can hear this. Oh, that is weird. Sounds like someone doing some building work in the background. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can hear this. It's the game. Yeah, I think Musso's right. I think that's definitely the game. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can hear this. I'm going to pause that now. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. I never got to see that movie, but I've heard good things. Let's go ahead and get out of this, and we'll just have the Slytherin group up. Dave, hey, how's it going, Dave? He says this one is more complex and goes with more scenarios. Yes. Alright. Is that TB on the emoticon? Total Biscuit? Is it Total Biscuit? I think it might be. Yeah. Okay, guys, I think we can go ahead and start getting started. That sounds a little weird. Musso, if you could put up a poll, please. We're just going to have two choices, USA and CSA. So that's going to be the two choices, whether you guys want us to play as the United States or the Confederate States of America. And yeah, I think it probably was him before he got sick. But he seems to be doing really well, I have to say. Like, I'm really glad as to how he's progressing. And Dave wants Dixie. Dixie's always going to be tougher to fight with. There's a straw poll. Thank you, Muso. I'm voting on this one too. You guys are going to see my vote because we've got the actual setup here. So I'm actually not going to vote. I'll be fair. I'll let you guys vote and then I'll view the results after. And then we'll decide. I think we'll probably go for one of the shorter battles initially. As we move into the stream, I might go ahead and show you guys some of the more complex campaigns, and we'll move from there. Yeah, he's doing okay, but I mean, I saw him on the H3 stream, I think it was like a month ago, and he still has cancer, as far as I know. But I think it's in remission. I don't know if, again, I'm not a doctor, but he's definitely, outlived any doctors. Doctors were telling him he had like months to live, and he's been around, what, 10 years or something after his diagnosis, so he's doing really well. I like his attitude too, which was basically just take one day at a time. You're gonna have some good days, some bad days, etc. So let's see. Wow, 5 votes for USA. We have some very pro-USA folks here. Fair enough. So it's definitely going to have to be USA. So let's jump up here. I think the Bull Run campaign is going to be it's going to be fair because the first Battle of Bull Run was a CSA victory, so it's not going to be too easy for me. So I'm going to actually jump in as Abraham Lincoln, and I could definitely lose this battle. This is just 5 turns, but a pretty serious scenario, and we need to go ahead and start setting our men up. So first things first, I'm going to get into my favorite map view, which is, of course, the owner of all regions map view. The blue, of course, represents the Union, and the gray represents the Confederacy, or the CSA. So first things first, we've got the Army of the Potomac here, led by General Irwin McDowell. I'm going to start adding guys to his stack, although his provided command is not as high as I expected it to be, I have to admit. So I might have to make a few different armies here. Here we've got a 35% penalty. No, we need a higher ranking general. 35% penalty there. The one thing about Civil War II is you really have to go to a lot of trouble to actually set up armies properly. Like here, for instance, we've got a 26% penalty. We're going to have to get a higher ranking general to show up on scene to help us out. For now, we're a little bit lost in terms of our setup. Now, we've got other generals here. I'm going to go ahead and be adding units here. But see, he's already got a 15% penalty. So these guys are not made for really large battles, at least not right now. Let's keep on taking a look. And again, Bull Run was a battle that the Union thought they were going to win. They absolutely were certain that they were going to have a victory during this battle. People even came to picnic on the battlefield because they really wanted to see what would happen. Clearly, things did not go as planned. So actually, we could start moving guys out so that this unit is a lot more effective. I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 units. Actually, I think we're going to have to move them individually. Fair enough. Still a 35% penalty. Let's see if we've got any cannons. Yeah, cannons do take up a lot. There's still a 35% penalty, man. And this guy's on a 15% penalty. Well, that one actually worked. So Hunter's force now is even, at least. And we're still at that 35% penalty. I think we're going to have to take out a lot of units. The balloons, I'm not really sure we need them. I mean, yeah, they help with recon, etc., but come on, really? Still at that 35% penalty, so I'm just going to stay put. It's that simple. We'll wait for some more experienced generals to show up. I'll go up farther north to see if we've got any more experienced generals, but I think we basically have to wait it out here. If anybody has any recommendations, please let me know. We're taking a look here. In the Grand Campaign, you're supposed to have a penalty. Yep, just started to rewatch the Sharp movie series, says Dally the other day. So good. Oh, yes, absolutely. And good timing, too, because we just released recently another Age Odds title with a lot of musketry. Gary says, and how's it going, Gary? It's been a while since we've seen you. Also, a Senior Raider, good to see you too, and of course, always good to see Siri and Dally. And let's take a look here. Picnics were sort of custom then. There was a similar case during the Crimean War when one of the Russian generals invited a lot of people for a picnic because he was sure he would defeat the Allied force. Wow. So yeah, at this point, we're going to keep things as they are. I am tempted to take this unit right here, Patterson's Command, and possibly try to move into Confederate territory. And remember, we can also spread around leaflets, we can spread around propaganda, and try to get people on our side. In fact, I want to take a look here. Decision mode. Let's take a look and see what we can do. So, Unionists. We will create 2 militia units of white Unionists in regions loyal to us. Highly developed regions and regions with large cities can't generate white Unionists. Alright, so I guess we're going to have to generate them over here. And we'll get some white Unionists on the way. And a partisan ambush. Now remember, there were partisans on both sides. There were Copperheads, and I can't remember the other one. But in certain states like Kentucky, there were a few other states where this would occur. You know, partisans would get into really, really nasty guerrilla combat. And I mean nasty. So we can incite the rise of partisans in loyal regions not completely in our control. Interesting. Okay, so I want to try and put them in sort of these regions behind enemy lines. Some of them are almost entirely under our control, but it's not a bad idea to get prepared. Landmines, scorched earth. We don't want to do any scorched earth yet. And we will put some defensive works right there at the city of Fairfax, Virginia. And I think for now we're going to end the turn. We will take a look at our decisions, though. Hey, Wavell, how you doing, buddy? Siri says, I always destroy the Tennessee railroads with Unionists and partisans. Yeah, that's a good idea. And I was kind of thinking that was to get these guys behind and also hopefully get those Unionists and partisans to rise up and start burning down all of these railroads down here. Or burning them down, blowing them up. I'm not sure. I think probably a lot goes into that. And we will try to stay on a... Okay, we're pretty much on a defensive posture as is. Do want to take a look at our decisions one more time. No need for scorched earth, at least not yet. Yeah, we've got money and we've got manpower. We're going to go ahead and get some replacements. Okay, no options yet. Let's end the turn, guys, and let's hope for the best. I'm not going to be talking over the battles because they're probably going to be a bit too loud for you to even hear me, to be honest. Here we go. There's a battle. There's a battle for sure. All right, a Union victory, guys. Irvin McDowell getting the win there against General Benjamin Huger, taking out 2,312 of his men and losing 2,699 of our own. Casualties, of course. But that's not a bad battle, and I didn't expect us to actually have a battle there that we would win. So that's a good start to the Bull Run campaign here. And here we go. Sure enough, our foraging force was caught. And despite Johnson having less men, he definitely won this one. Actually, no, he didn't have less men. Pardon me. He's also General Joseph E. Johnston, a very well-known Confederate commander. And Beauregard was with him. And Beauregard might be my favorite Confederate general. There's one that I prefer over Beauregard, but he's not nearly as famous, and that would be Jubilee Early. But let's see what we can do here. So that was pretty incredible. We actually managed to do a good job there, and we can possibly go ahead and try to take, let's see. Yeah, maybe an assault of Spotsylvania, Virginia, and see if we can't take it. Now, we are leaving a pretty weak force behind here to defend this area, so I think I'm going to try to get Stone's command, even though he's already overburdened with command penalties, over here to defend this area as well. We'll also take a look at the decisions and see what else we can do. So we could plunder this region, believe it or not. That's going to piss the people off, though, afterwards. So, in other words, what's going to happen is, sure, it's going to be great that we're going to be able to plunder the region and, you know, take a lot of goods from it. But if we end up taking this region under our control, the people are going to absolutely hate us. So, I'm really tempted, but I think I'm actually going to go for the landmine, and that will make it easier for us to break through the fort. So let's just go for the landmine for now. Also try to build a supply depot up here. This unit's already heading back. And look at that, we've got our partisan units. Yeah, let's get them over here and start destroying some bridges. And with the partisan units, we could probably do some partisan raids. Or some partisan ambushes. Nice. Let's set one up here. And let's set up a partisan ambush here. So if Joseph E. Johnston comes through this area, he's definitely going to get attacked. And I'm going to take this cavalry unit and actually go back and try to join Patterson's force. I'm looking around to see if we have any other men, but I think that's pretty much it. So we have to hope that good old Irvin McDowell can break through here, and hopefully that we can hold the city. Here we go, boys. Hell of a battle, but a Union defeat, and that was him attacking the Alexandria defenses. Now, what we did, one of the major mistakes we did here was we didn't enter the structure, so we couldn't actually fight from within the structure, which made things a lot harder for us. We did, however, manage to take Spotsylvania, Virginia, and this puts us in an interesting situation. Do we head back and try to take back Fairfax, or do we try and face, of course, Ewell in the Valley, or is this Ewell? Shame on me. We could also build a fort here. Man, this is a tough one. No, I think we're definitely going to have to head back on an offensive approach. And I'm actually going to merge some units into this army, even though it can't really support all of these defensive units. At least it can hold out against any future attacks. I hope so, anyway. And let's enter the structure. Okay, so our partisans are already doing some damage here. This region has been pillaged. Beautiful. Love that. What else can we do to disrupt some movement here? We can move by rail. We don't want to do that. We can set an ambush. Let's set an ambush. Although, you know what? We're actually probably better off continuing to cut off these rail lines. So that's what I'm going to do. Just get behind the enemy unit and cut off as many rail lines as possible. And we shall end the turn here. And look at that. We've got some enemy partisans, it looks like. I think we want to go ahead and try to face them if we can catch them in time. Let's end the turn. Oh, they're switching out with Johnston. That was sneaky. Really sneaky. So we can actually stay here in Stratford and probably get some more men. But I'm not sure that's what we want to do. The thing is, the city's still under our control, which leads me to believe that we have a chance at maybe getting him not to attack. I know, it's hilarious. I doubt that's going to happen. We could do some scorched earth here, but I don't want to do that. Well, we'll gain back 20 cohesion for doing this. Sorry, friends. We're going to have to do the scorched earth policy. What about a partisan raid? Anything we can do with that? No, doesn't look like it. And we've got some more units here ready for command. All right, let's move them to Frederick, Maryland. And end the turn. We could be moving these guys by rail, but they'll do just fine walking. Maybe even get a little exercise in. All right, here we go. Battle of the century. The enemy's definitely going to win this one. Best we can hope for is some serious Confederate casualties. And actually, we both lost a lot of men, but they killed double of their losses. 4,000 of our men. We killed 1,875. And we've got a lot of Zouave units here. The Zouave are an interesting unit. I've heard so many different beliefs about the Zouaves. I've heard so many different conflicting stories. Some say that they're basically immigrants from other countries that fought for the Zouaves. Some say they were part of shooting clubs before the war and became Zouaves. I'm guessing that they're all different, but there does seem to be a sort of Zouave mentality or Zouave culture in both armies. And look at that. We actually managed to keep Fairfax, Virginia under our control. So yeah, we lost the battle, but hopefully we're not losing the war here. And what I'm going to do now is just try and build as quickly as I can a depot, and I'll also enter the structure, although I'm not sure I can do both at once. Let's hope that I can. And we will go ahead, we'll check our list of possibilities here. Build some more defensive works, and we'll end the turn. We got Longstreet right there to the west. That's definitely worrying me. Longstreet is a nasty general, and if he gets to us, he's going to beat us. Minor victory win by victory points. There we go, guys. So basically, just because the enemy moved away and did not continue their attack on Fairfax, that's why we won. Now, this would be weird because the Battle of Bull Run was won by the Confederates, but in this one, we won as the Union. So hooray to Agrippa Maxentius for this one. We're going to go back, guys, and try another battle. So, one victory down the hatch. Maybe now I can show you guys a more complex campaign. Struggle for the Heartland is one of them. This is 117 turns. We can also do... Now, Bloody Shiloh is just another battle, although I wouldn't mind to play Shiloh. Shiloh was won by the Union, so maybe this time I can try as the Confederacy. What do you guys think? Would you guys like to see a long battle or a long campaign or short battles? Let's make a little poll here. So the options are long campaign, short battles. And, of course, we'll let you guys decide here. What's happening? Burn the village, that says Yogic Fire. We're not in Georgia yet. Give it time. Give it time. So this is going to be, actually, Muso can put it up. It's just going to be a little sort of... poll that you guys can vote on. We do have a lot of short battle, though. So we won one battle as the Union, which the Confederacy won. I think now we're going to try to play the battle as the Confederacy in Shiloh and see if we can win. So what I'm going to do here is he'll still put up the poll, and that way you guys can vote on the battle after this one. So here we go. We're playing as Jefferson Davis, leader of the Confederacy. And by the way, I do have a historical question for you guys that I'd like you to discuss in the chat. And that is, at the end of the Civil War, Jefferson Davis was essentially let go. He wasn't charged for treason or anything like that. He was essentially allowed to sort of retire into a peaceful life. I wanted to know what you guys think about that. Do you think he should have been charged, or do you think it's fair that he wasn't? Let's get some comments, some opinions down below. Now, I am going to try to mix Hardy with Johnston, and I knew that was probably a bad idea. Luckily, Braxton Bragg is doing great here, so I'm going to take Braxton Bragg and start moving north immediately. We'll put him over here in Gibson, Tennessee, and actually, we can go to Fort Henry. I'm not sure if we're going to make it there this turn, but we certainly will try. We've also got a CSA Cavalry Battalion, and guys, this is Nathan Bedford Forrest. Now, Nathan Bedford Forrest has a very, very sordid past. He was possibly one of the best cavalry generals of the entire war, and also probably one of the best guerrilla fighters of the entire war, but his past is extremely sordid. He actually started the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, and to this day, members of the Ku Klux Klan do sometimes venerate and honor him. So, again, a very, very... creepy figure, to say the least. I've heard so many stories from both sides about him that everything said about him is a lie. I've heard stories that he was an absolute monster. I don't know what to believe. And since history is written by the victors, I'm guessing that most of us don't know what to believe. Now, what I'm trying to do here is actually get 3 nice big armies in place, and we're starting to get the penalty away from the Army of the Mississippi led by Johnston, and basically give Beauregard some more control here. Let's give him Hinman, and that should help Beauregard, absolutely. So even a few sub-generals are going to help you control, and I think 10% is not too bad. I can live with 10%, but if we can build a depot here, I'm definitely going to do that. So let's build a depot, and Braxton Bragg's going to be the one focusing on destroying the enemy, and we're going to be sending Nathan Bedford Forrest and the 1st Texas Cavalry, led by, I don't know the name of this fellow. What's his name? And we're going to move him up here to also assist in cutting off the enemy lines. And again, guys, this is the Battle of Shiloh. We will, of course, check our decisions. Let's see what else we can do here. So these are the Copperheads. These are Unionists that are pro-Confederacy. And actually, these sort of things were very common during the war. I'm not sure if any of you guys saw the battle or saw the movie Gangs of New York. At the end of the movie Gangs of New York, there's actually an attack on New York City by Union soldiers returning from the Battle of Gettysburg. And that's because a lot of folks in New York, particularly longtime residents, actually supported the Confederacy and were not in support of the Union war effort overall. And one of the biggest reasons, I think, is because in those particular areas, You know, people, you know, number one, didn't really have a lot of money, and they didn't want to be drafted into a war and, you know, come out of it either wounded, maimed. That was one major reason. Another reason was, and I've read a book on this entire subject, so I do know a little bit, but I'm still an amateur. But another reason was that a lot of Irish immigrants coming from Ireland were essentially promised, you know, bread, food, etc., to sign a paper, which was essentially their conscription papers. So they didn't even know what they were signing, really, and they ended up getting themselves caught up in a war. Pretty nasty stuff. I'm going to try to do some more partisan raids here, but we've got a bunch of partisan ambushes already set up here. So I think we can end the turn, and yeah, I'll put a sea mine down. Why not? If any enemies try to pass down south, they're going to get hit, and we shall end the turn. Here we go, guys. Wish us luck for the south. Got some copperheads and a bunch of partisans willing to rise up in Kentucky, and look at that. We've already got those partisans rising, but ooh, that's a lot of Union soldiers. My goodness. That is a lot of Union soldiers. Okay, I'm going to keep you here, Bragg. Uh-oh. What the hell just happened? We got to find the unit that just caused that problem. There we go. So I could actually put Wharton in Bragg's command, and that's going to have Nathan Bedford Forrest. That's going to give us a 23% penalty, though. Not good. We'll get Johnston up there with them. And in the meantime, I just want Bragg to build a depot. Beauregard, you've already got a depot up, so I want you to head this way, because we seem to have some problems in eastern Tennessee. And I know you can see to that. Do we have any rails? I think we should. Yep, we do. So we can get there a lot faster than anticipated. And we could actually probably get Beauregard here faster, too. Although, got to be careful moving so many men along the rails. It can cause problems. We've got, of course, these militia units. I'm going to start moving into these areas, Fort Henry, etc. Some of these guys I'll try to just set up an ambush. Here I'm going to enter the structure in Paducah, Kentucky. I'm really tempted to attack, but I know better. I really know better at this point. Let's end the turn. A lot of Union soldiers moving down south here, guys. Oh boy. Oh, that's Grant. That is Ulysses S. Grant, guys. Oh, the bloody Battle of Depot. That was a vicious one. 4,477 lost on our side, 3,908 lost on the enemy side. And we've got a lot of different modifiers here that, of course, affected the battle. It looks like our guys had a very high hit probability, and the enemy had more of a medium hit probability. So we definitely outshot them, but they still managed to break through. I'm still proud of our men. That was a pretty good defense. Of course, they moved us out of Madison, Tennessee, and this complicates things, to say the least. Let's see, what if we merge everybody together? 35% penalty, that's terrible. Required command, 42%. Yeah, we can't make that work at all. So let's try to just grab a bunch of these guys, move them off to Bragg's army. If you don't want to be part of my army, I don't care. Go to Bragg. Oh no, I thought it was 666. It's 686. Still a bit terrifying. So Bragg's at a 35% penalty. We're at a 31% penalty. We need more generals here. Higher ranking generals specifically. So, okay, here we are with Beauregard. Nobody's paying attention to Beauregard. So this gives me license to move through Davidson, Tennessee, maybe all the way to Stewart, and cut off some of the enemy here at least. I'm also going to keep on cutting the enemy off this way. Let's set up an ambush right there on the rails. And yeah, I'm going to have to make this a little more fair. Let's see if we can set up a third generalship under Hayter or Hardy. Oh, that's Hardy, man. It's really hard to read these names when you're like sitting a few feet away from the screen. All right, he's down to 14% penalty. That seems fair. Hardy's at a 5% penalty. Bragg is really the only one in trouble right now. All right, fair enough, boys. Build us a depot. Hope someone else can build us a fort. I guess we can only build one thing at once. Fair enough. And we shall end the turn after checking out our possibilities here. So partisan raid, I'm definitely going to do one right there. And another partisan raid right here. And some partisan ambushes, why not? The enemy's got their own partisans over here, so we want to make sure that we are setting up for the fight. And as I mentioned before, you know, in places like Kentucky, this happened very, very frequently, you know, two different groups of partisans fighting each other. So let's hope that that helps us out quite a bit there. We do seem to have a lot of Southern support in Kentucky. And let's take a look here. That's okay, no worries. That is nonsense. Come on, man. That's not even a funny joke. Let's take a look here. The right thing by letting him fade away. Let's take a look here. And we could... could move this guy out of here and have him focus on a different front. But no, for now, I'm going to let the guerrillas do their work, and hopefully they do a damn good job. It's going to be really hard to beat Grant, though. Oh! Sherman was waiting for me. Sneaky, sneaky Sherman. He's on his way to Georgia, too, so the people of Georgia are in for a very bad time, to say the very least. Okay, I hope that those attacks went well, those raids, etc. So we did succeed in positioning ourselves in an ambush position there with the partisans, and at this point I'm just going to try to have as much fun as possible. Now 2,000, oh my gosh, look how many men they've got. Yeah, we're just going to have to wait for the fight. Here we go, guys. I don't think we can beat them. And this is the Battle of Shiloh as the Confederates. This was, of course, a Union victory. The last time we managed to win as the Union in what was a Confederate victory, the Battle of Bull Run. But I don't think we're going to get as lucky in this one. We're getting smashed. And now you guys, group drug, and now you guys have got that. Okay, let's take a look here. Not even close. Not even close. As a matter of fact, I just uploaded a series on Israel on my channel, specifically about the Arab-Israeli war. Really, really interesting stuff. So despite the massive command penalty here, I still kind of feel like trying to build a fort and hold out against the enemy. As for Beauregard, he's got to move back home, so I'm sending Beauregard back. He's probably the best general next to Johnston that we have, and probably the highest ranking one, so I think all we can do is get him back home. We should have used the railroads there, but actually some of the railroads have been cut off there. Ooh, now that was a nice little guerrilla skirmish battle there. So we've got Yankee skirmishers and rebel skirmishers. We lost 30, they lost 61, but they did take over the fort of Paducah. And this is quite common in these sort of small skirmishes, just to have a few men go down, either wounded or killed. And sometimes even, unfortunately, with these skirmishes, civilians would be killed quite often. Alright, so this is us trying to fight with very, very low command value, and we did pretty well, all things considered. Both of us lost the same amount of men here. Both of the armies aren't liking that, but of course we've got a lot of fighting left to do. And we're in Alabama. The Union got pretty far south into Alabama. Let's take here. These people make a lot of noise while they're dying, says Musso. What do you mean by these people, Musso? That sounds like a racial epithet to me, man. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, no, they do, absolutely. And there's actually an ability to turn that off. So you can actually turn off the battle sounds and the entire battle circle thing and just basically get your results immediately. But I don't know if you guys agree, but for me, I like hearing the battle sounds and sort of, gives me an idea of what's going on. So let's go ahead. Are we in control of all regions? Yes, we are. Okay. All regions view. Interestingly enough, we hold this area in Lake Tennessee, sort of an independent area under our control, behind enemy lines. And of course, the Obion River, as well as the Forked Deer River, is keeping most of our men away from Lake Tennessee there. I'd love to move up and attack, but I don't think that's an option. Defensive works, no. Yeah, might as well drop some scorched earth here. And it is our county, but at least if the Union moves through it, they're not going to find anything at all. There we go. He's attacking us again. And he beat us again. Once again, you know, about 1,000 on each side, but still, that is frustrating. Look at his attack power. 3,881. Man, unbelievable. All we can really do here is try and get to a place that's fairly safe. So I'm moving up here, and I hope that Beauregard will join us. All right. Oh, we got some enemy partisans here in our territory, too. I see how it is. Okay, ending the turn, boys. Once again, a battle there between, actually this time, it was our militia, our guerrillas, against some Michigan volunteers. So these guys are not only soldiers, they've volunteered to fight, and they did a great job. We only killed 92 of them. They killed 399, essentially every single one of those militia units. And look at that, he doesn't want us to run away. He's not going to let us escape without a major loss. Looks like we finally made it out. Once again, a nice little fight here between two guerrilla units, the Battle of Humboldt. But at least Lake Tennessee is still under our control. And he is chasing us, man. I mean, Grant does not stop. Once he starts chasing you, you better be able to run away quickly. And in this case, it's definitely looking like the Battle of Shiloh is going to go as it did historically with a Union victory. Chickamauga, oh, great battle. Chickamauga is a great, great battle. There's so many great battles in the Civil War. Let's go ahead and end here. Yeah, they're not going to let us run away without a fight. And now Buell is attacking us. Oh, at this point, Johnson's going to probably have to surrender. Okay, there we go, guys. And that was a loss by victory points. Not at all surprised. Now, one thing I didn't do last time, which I'm going to do this time, is show you guys the casualties on both sides. Looks like we had 20,297, and the enemy had 11,021. You can also see their combat power. That's why they had such monumental armies, is their combat power was completely filled up. So they were at their very max at combat power, and they did a great job. So now we're headed back to the main menu once again. We've gone through 2 battles, 1 victory, 1 defeat. Pretty exciting. We're actually getting a lot into this stream. And now I'm going to give you guys once again another option. Do you guys want to see a long or a short battle? And this is where I need Muso, just basically a poll saying long or short for the battle. And we will go ahead and jump in. Yeah, it is over 9,000. I knew someone was going to make that joke. I was just waiting to see who would do it. Nicely done. It's over 9,000. It really is. All right, guys, vote away. You might need to teach me, Texas Cavalier, on forming corps. I know how to start like an army commander, but forming corps might be something else. Again, with every Age Gods game, I do consider myself fairly good at some of them, at some of the mechanics, but some of the mechanics I still have yet to learn. I think this time we're going to do the Bloody Road South, so this is kind of in between a long and short campaign. I might try this one. But we'll see what you guys decide here in the poll. Alright, so yeah, you guys definitely seem to be in the mood for a long battle. And this one is fairly long. I don't think we're going to finish this by the end of the stream. So in this particular one, as the Union player, you have 3 objectives. First, in the east, you must use the Army of the Potomac and other forces to destroy the Confederate armies and capture Richmond. Second, in the west, your goal is to drive through the mountains of Tennessee and Georgia to capture Atlanta. Now, last time we won this particular campaign as the Union a few streams ago, so I'm going to play as the Confederates for this one and see if I can't stop the Union assault. It's going to be tough, but I think we can at least have some fun and get a look at one of the longer campaigns here. So there's Robert E. Lee, General of the Confederacy, and leader of the Confederacy. We're actually going to get 2 generals in here, but we're going to have to probably leave, or get some guys out of Lee's command. Ewell can take a few men, so let's send a cannon over to Ewell. Let's send Lee Davidson's division over to Ewell. That's an 11% penalty, an 8% penalty. I can live with those, basically. So let's keep these guys here. I see Grant right there. I want to build a depot for our men. We've got a lot of armies to create here, guys. And I'm going to get these guys up to Breckenridge. I won't merge yet, but I will begin to merge very, very soon. Let's get this cavalry over here as well. And we've got Evans. Not easy on the eyes. He's a tough-looking guy. And let's go ahead and start merging these guys. 35%. Let's give him up to Evans and see if he can make a difference. And for these guys, I will, of course, move them by rail. At this point, we don't have to worry about losing the rail. Let's take a look. Ooh, maybe we can't move by rail. Fair enough. Now, what he was talking about, for instance, we can actually enable divisional command for this leader, but I believe that puts him in command of the entire division here. And right now, I believe that that Robert E. Lee is currently in command of the army. So far, we've got everything set up the way we want it. Let's make sure we don't have any other reinforcements. And actually, there's a lot of issues here in the eastern region. We might have to deal with that fairly soon. Now, I don't want them attacking Richmond. That's our capital. So I'm actually going to go to Richmond first, and I'm going to take this guy along. Hopefully we can do something about that. We might even have to send back an army here, like Ewell, to deal with that situation in the east. There's just so many enemies there. Let's end the turn. No, wait, not before we get some decisions. Alright, demonstrations would definitely help. I'm going to form a demonstration here in Culpeper, Virginia against Grant being in the city. I'll also throw a demonstration back here in the major city. Well, not a major city, but the city of Prince George. One right there, as close as possible to the front. And another demonstration over here in Richmond to support our cause. I guess we can't do that. Alright, we'll put them here. Now, we could export bales of cotton. We're not going to do it yet. Ooh, we will try to force some runners to transport badly needed materials for the war effort. Why not? And let's also use some counterintelligence, organize counter-espionage shells in this region. It doesn't look like there are any regions where we can do that, but we can certainly draft some men. So I'm definitely going to draft in the capital of Richmond, draft over here in the areas near the Roanoke River, over here as well, and over here as well. We've got to be ready for the invasion, boys. We could also try and requisition some supplies, but this is, of course, going to really piss off a lot of civilians. Nonetheless, I think desperate times call for desperate measures. Let's take a look here at the chat. Okay, Texas, if you can tell us how to do it, man, I will absolutely try. So when you combine a leader with units. So I'm guessing like you're talking about just a generic leader. Let's take this one, for instance. So there's 2 units here with him. So can we combine them all together? Usually what I do is I just merge armies. But yeah, that'd be cool if we could combine this guy, our Evans Brigade, into his actual unit card. I wouldn't know how to do that, though. Let's take a look. Is it divisional command? Is that what it is? Enable divisional command? We'll come back to that. That's right, he's moving up there. Also take a look here at the... Well, we definitely want to go ahead and get some more infantry units. But I want to see if we can increase the rail pool by 25. It's going to cost us money and war supplies, which I don't think we have either. And we should definitely issue paper money to increase our funds, although I'm sure that's going to cause inflation. And you can actually see there the signature of Jefferson Davis. I'm also going to have to raise taxes. Sorry, guys, we're at war. We've got to do some serious things here. Now, we could also offer trade concessions, but that's going to cost us 25 victory points. We don't want to offer those yet. That's sort of a bit of a détente. We want to, try to stay strong. Let's end the turn. I hope that Grant won't attack here. It'll really help us out if he just stays put. Then again, we've got to fight him sometime. Oh, this one's taking a while. So, obviously, the longer the campaign, the longer it's going to take to determine what's going to happen. But this means a lot of movement is going to take place this turn. And I'm assuming there's going to be some attacks. I should have moved into the structure with Robert E. Lee. I forgot once again. So we'd be fighting out in the open. But that does make it more likely that Grant will attempt an attack. So we'll have to see what happens. Here we go. Oh, it's another general moving. Here we go. We've got a battle in Galveston. I didn't expect Galveston, Texas to have any Union in it. But apparently it's just a small battle between Magruder and McClelland. Not many men lost on either side. But I'm surprised to see a Union presence in Texas. Okay, let's take a look here. See if... Texas can help me here. Yes, in division that officer can be combined with those infantry. So how would we do that, Texas? And again, it's probably going to be kind of hard to explain, I'm assuming, but to get as close as possible. Now we also have to keep in mind we've got this unit right here, the West Louisiana District, led by General Taylor, and I'm going to try to cause some havoc here in Louisiana for the enemy. So we're going to go on a full attack here and try to retake that land. That should not be under Union control. They're way too far south. And we've got the same here with Nathan Bedford Forrest. The evil or heroic Nathan Bedford Forrest, depending on how you look at him. It's kind of fascinating because despite forming the KKK and being a pretty nasty guy, apparently later in his life he renounced the formation. But he was much, much older at that point. And it barely counts in my eyes. Let's get Hardy over here. Hardy's got a 25% penalty. So yeah, if you have any way of avoiding these penalties or giving us tips on that, let us know. And I guess we maybe need to jump into the command phase here, dismiss the corps and reform them. I'm not sure how that works. Again, you're always going to be learning stuff with an age-odd game, and that's one of the beautiful things about it. With Longstreet, I'm really tempted to immediately start attacking the north, but I see some enemy units here in these places like Carter, Tennessee. So I'm going to go help the people of Carter, Tennessee and try to get to Knox in 46 days. That's going to take a while, and we still got Robert E. Lee here. He's doing just fine for now. Alright, nice location. I'm going to have these guys enter the structure because they don't have a lot of men there in that army. Try to see if my cavalry can't reach that location quickly as well. Although I don't want them to go around and meet the enemy army on the way. So let's see if you can just go up this way. Perfect. As for this location, or these units, they're already making it over here. Let's get this guy over here. And Robert E. Lee might be preparing for an attack very, very soon. That's all I'm going to say. Draft some more men at Richmond, why not? On the same panel where it allows you to form divisions, the option will be available to form corps. The condition is that you have a 2- or 3-star officer in the command of a stack and in the radius of an army command. Okay, let's see. So again, I'm probably not going to do this right the first time, but we've got what looks to be... I think that's a 2-star general. I'm not seeing any stripes on him. Yeah, that's a 2-star general, for sure. So... let's go ahead. Let's split units, I guess. I see. Okay. Create corps. Wonder if that changed anything. Oh, it looks like we've got some more divisional command there. Okay, okay. So can we do the same with Robert E. Lee? Dismiss army? I don't know if we should dismiss the army. But let's see if we can just dismiss Jeb Stuart's army. No, I don't think we can. So right now he's at a 35% penalty. And let's create a corps. Ooh, thank you, buddy. Look at that. That is awesome. Thank you, sir. So that absolutely helps us. And a nice little trick I just learned myself. So what about enable divisional command? And that's a 1-star general, so I don't think it's going to work for him. But that's very cool, man. So I think what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to take Robert E. Lee and try to cut that general off. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but I want to be prepared if I do. I want to be a somewhat aggressive, not too aggressive. That is a very cool, neat little trick. Thanks, man. I hope I'm doing it right, but... Dismiss Corps. Enable divisional command. That might have been a mistake. Why are we over the ocean? Take a look here and see how I'm doing with Texas. Don't dismiss Lee's army. I think I just did. That's okay. It's a learning experience. Yeah, dismissing Lee as a corps commander is not good, but I think we reinstated him as the army chief. So now he is in the command of the Army of 2nd Virginia still. Don't worry. But we're at least learning. That's cool, man. All right, I'm going to end the turn here. I want to get into a gunfight. Let's go. Enough talking and more shooting. That's what I have to say. Very neat trick there. Thank you so much, Texas. Okay, we could end up having a big battle here. Obviously, if Grant tries to face us on the battlefield, I think he's going to have the victory. But we'll do our absolute best to stop them, or to stop him from making that happen. Church bells in the background. Man, that turn is taking a while. I think we're definitely going to have some issues arise. Oh, and sure enough, someone is attacking Lee. Oh, there they just took the fort with no fight whatsoever in Galveston, Texas. So I think this is actually coastal fire, if I'm not mistaken. And that's Phil Sheridan. That's the guy we were chasing with Lee. Oh my god, 87,000. How the hell did that happen? So we were winning initially with Johnston, and suddenly this massive army from Joseph B. Hooker with almost 100,000 men showed up. We definitely won the battle in terms of enemy losses. I mean, we killed or wounded 1,525 infantry and 677 cavalry, and we only lost 153 men. So I hope we can still hold out in future battles here. But as you can see, Sherman is coming down with a force, or with an attack force of 6,000. Not nearly 9,000, but pretty damn close. And I don't know if we can deal with that, man. We need to get the hell out of here. So let's head back down south. What about this fellow right here? French's division. Split that unit. Remove divisional command. No, we can't. That's not helping us one bit. That made things worse. See, I gotta find out how to do this proper, like. Okay, let's see this fellow here. Put him under Polk's army. Polk's a pretty good general. He can take quite a lot of men in the actual army itself. There we go. 9% penalty. Not horrific, but, you know, obviously I prefer something better than that. And I'm going to take him and move him a little up north this way where Nathan Bedford Forest is. We'll try to take Fulton, Alabama back. A lot of these locations I'm taking back have very little significance, but it always helps to try and cut off as many of the enemy railroad lines, cities, etc. Just try and confuse them wherever the heck you can. Let's see how these guys are doing. They should be ready for a fight. Beauregard. I'm surprised, boy. You should be doing a lot better. Let's form an army with Beauregard. There we go. Now we should have 2 armies, if I'm not mistaken. And let's see what his command value is. We could bring more guys here to help Beauregard, but we'll stay cool for now. How's that? A lot of men here. And look at that. He is over 9,000. Ulysses S. Grant, over 9,000 attack power. We're still moving through with Robert E. Lee to try to get that battle. And at that point, the city's under U.S. control, so I'm actually going to go for an aggressive attack. As for good old-fashioned Richard Ewell, he's doing all right. I'm going to move through here. Try to get down to that coastal fort. We might bring some more guys along, but I don't think we need to. Now, what about enabling divisional command? Not sure if that's going to make much of a difference. Alright, let's end the turn. Hope we get some good battles here. I want to retake these areas in Virginia that the enemy has so callously taken from us. So that's going to be our main goal, is retake the areas in good old Virginia. Robert E. Lee's home state, by the way. Okay, come on, boys. Clean those muskets, or actually rifle muskets would be the appropriate term, I believe. Now, the thing is, Grant's only got 1 train coming in. If we could somehow cut that northern area of Stafford, Virginia, he would be stuck in Fredericksburg, and that could prove to be pretty damaging for his forces. But I don't think we're going to be able to get all the way around there in this period of time. It would be pretty tough. Got some coastal fire there. All right, a Confederate defeat there. Yeah, a nasty one too. One thing's for sure, the enemy definitely does not want to fight us on our own terms. And Texas Cavaliers mentioning is the best strategic level U.S. Civil War game out. No worries, Texas Cavalier. Thank you so much for your help, man. Even with just the assistance you've given me here, you've even helped me understand the game a bit more. And I hope to keep on learning I can definitely see now that's an important aspect of the game, which we need to really try and do our best with. As for this particular general, good old Johnston, I think I'm going to try to enter the structure and await the enemy, because I see Grant approaching, or excuse me, Sherman approaching. And when Sherman is on his way, good things are not on the way unless you're a pro-Union. As for this guy, the Alabama Department, I'm just going to go ahead and try to mess with some of the enemy's rail lines here. So let's cut through. We've still got good old-fashioned 1st Division here, led by Richard Taylor. And I'm going to try to take back as much land in Louisiana as we can. Now, it looks like Nathan Bedford Forrest is cut off, but that's exactly what he's made for, is being cut off. So hopefully he can keep cutting off areas here from the enemy as he moves through. In fact, I'd love to see if we can get some demonstrations here in places where Nathan Bedford Forrest has been close to. And it'd be great to get some partisans, but I don't think we're at that level right now. Let's see what we can do over here. Definitely want to get some replacements. And these are going to replace units that are already hurt, damaged, etc. Could issue some war bonds, get some money. Build armories and arsenals in Texas. Oh, yeah. And I think that's all we're going to do now. Alright, what else can we do here against these damn Union snakes in the grass? Alright, Longstreet should be on an attack path here. What about Robert E. Lee? He was chasing that hound dog in Rockbridge, and I'm continuing. He's a day away. He should be able to catch this guy, and we can even move north and try to catch 2 Union armies there. Of course, that that attack power of 9,000 is terrifying. And we're also going to be charging into the fort here pretty soon. Fort Monroe. We're going to try to take that area back. Now look at this sneaky Suffolk garrison getting behind our lines. We're going to go and try to hit them. We will try to deal with the penalty first, though. And we shall end our turn, I believe. I'm trying to talk like a southern gentleman as best as I can. Alright, we're going to have to wait there for the turn resolution. But I must say, of all of the Agiad games, there are some I would put in like the extremely complicated section. Some I put in like the medium and some in the easy. I would recommend for like a beginner, Aliak to S, stuff like that. Civil War I would put between medium and difficult. You really need to, first of all, have a history of the Civil War, somewhat of a knowledge of how the battles happened. A knowledge of how the generals moved, etc. And also, like that divisional command that Texas was teaching us earlier, that's something that's not nearly as important in things like Aliak to Est, but very important in divisional level games like this and like To End All Wars, the World War I game. And To End All Wars I would definitely put up there in the more complicated Agiad game section, but one of my favorite ones is To End All Wars. The casualty count in that game can really get up to the hundreds of thousands for each side. It's incredible. Come on, boys. This is your chance to make heroes of yourselves. Don't shame yourselves in front of the South. Ooh, and that was just Joseph B. Hooker being a bully. He's just attacking the poor fort of Rome. He's got no men in it. And look at this. There was an uprising. I've never seen that before, but there was actually an uprising. Oh, no. It was the last people in the Fredericksburg fortifications. Never mind. Now, here's Robert E. Lee getting some revenge. That's what I'm talking about, baby. No men lost on Robert E. Lee's side. Phil Sheridan is running with his tail tucked between his legs. 615 men down, and we're still chasing him, guys. And look at that. We've got Anderson's division with us. I love the way these guys look. The one thing that's great about Age of Odds, among many, is the reality of uniforms in their games. You know, a lot of people think that the Civil War was just blues versus grays. That's not at all the case. There were Union forces with gray uniforms. There were Confederate forces with blue uniforms. Certainly, sometimes you'd have to be a little extra careful, and really you'd want to be firing at the enemy in front of you. So, especially with the Zouaves looked pretty similar on both sides. They both wore this red uniform here, and I would imagine that there was definitely some crossfire occasionally. Here we go, and oh, that was disappointing. We're trying to, of course, get into Mississippi, and we lost 430 men against General Walcutt. He's not going to let us do our guerrilla movements here. And look at this. Beautiful. We're still beating up on Sheridan. Robert E. Lee is just going to beat the heck out of this guy. Keep going. And the Battle of Columbus was a loss. That was expected. Now we're getting here. Nope, we're not at Columbus yet. It's going to be Hardy. Come on, Hardy. Hold on, son. And yeah, against Grant or McPherson, it's going to be tough, but Grant joined afterwards. 2,865 on our side, 4,000 on the enemy side. At least we cost them men, but as you guys probably know, hold on one second, a victory! We took the fort, or the Battle of Hampton Roads, and we're going to be taking the fort too. But as you guys know, the Confederates had far fewer men to lose. The Union had a much larger pool of men to draw from, so even if we end up, you know, killing more of the enemy in a lot of these battles, that doesn't necessarily make a big difference. I think the bigger difference in these campaigns is cutting off the rail lines, cutting off their supplies, and basically making their army, you know, combat unworthy. They wouldn't be able to actually carry out a fight due to lack of material. It's tough. It's not easy to win as the South in this or any other game. Here we go. Now, this is a major battle, and he's got reinforcements this time, so he's decided to stay and fight. And it's a Confederate defeat. Sheridan finally beat Lee. Lee losing 4,409 men. Sheridan losing, well, about 5,000 men altogether, if you look at the cavalry there. But, you know, honestly, disappointing. I think it was because we were on the aggressive stance right here. If we had just been on the regular attack stance, we would have been a little more careful, and we probably would have come out of this battle pretty well. That being said, it is what it is. Okay, and look at this. We have our, and this is really cool, just the history of the game. There's so much history, so much research. We've got our colored militia here, and it took a while for the Union to actually start giving weapons to African Americans, and most of the time their positions were essentially defensive positions. They were made to guard. There were a few exceptions, but in this case, we've got a colored infantry division in Wharton, Texas, and I'm sure the people of Wharton are not too happy about that. We might go and try to take them on with Magruder and see if we can wipe them out, because they also act as a defensive position for this area, so we don't want any defenders there if we can help it. And there's our good old Stewart's Brigade. These guys were just recruited from this area, and I'm going to send them over here to Edmund Smith. Edmund Smith could definitely use a few more men in his army, but at this point, he's waiting for them. Now, look at this, guys. This is Stan Wadey. Now, this guy, there's so many interesting things about Stan Wadey, but I want you guys to tell me if you know anything interesting in the chat about Stan Wadey. Let's see if anybody knows the secret here, because there's more than one. And I find his story fascinating and extremely hypocritical and contradictory at the same time. So the thing with Stan Wadey was number one, a Native American that fought for the Confederate States of America. As many might know, the Native Americans, many of the Native American tribes did take African American slaves as well. They were used to actually slavery, especially during wars between Native Americans. Slaves were often taken. In this case, Stan Wadey was the, let's see if anybody can figure it out. I'm taking a look at the chat here. United States Colored Troops. Thank you, Wafel. Yes, exactly. We're not. It's not at all racist, because in this context, colored was actually what they were referred to, the colored forces. So Stan Wadey was the last Confederate general to surrender. He surrendered after Robert E. Lee did. He continued fighting for a few weeks, or possibly a few days, as a general, and as a pretty effective guerrilla leader, basically was able to cut off a lot of Union lines, because, you know, his Cherokee brigades knew the territory pretty well. You know, they were pretty well versed in the area directly around them. Let's go ahead and get Polk here, go on the attack. And I think we can get Johnston to start moving to Lawrence. Actually, no, Johnston is going to have to stick here with Hardee. See if Hardee can maybe build a fort. So yeah, Native American fighting for the Confederacy, and one of the last to leave. And actually, it sort of makes sense because at this time period and before this time period, the USA was not very nice to the Native Americans. So I think I would even, as a Native American, probably in this context, join the CSA, because maybe the CSA would be kinder. Of course, it would just be a guess and a hope, but maybe there's a chance they would be kinder than the USA. Okay, so we can go now for Fort Monroe, or we can double back and try to hit Daniel Sickles here in Virginia. I think I'm going to go for Daniel Sickles. I'll just let Fort Monroe stay there as a sort of eyesore and a reminder of how far they're going to get into our territory. I will leave them there, but that's as far as they're getting into Virginia. Hopefully we can catch this guy. There's also a Western campaign, which we're not going to be able to get to at this stream, but if you guys want to do Civil War II on a future stream that prominently uses Stan Wadey and a few other Western Confederate generals. Remember, the war in the West was not as bloody as the war in the East. There were a lot fewer fights going on, and the frontier was still sort of being built. You know, a lot of places were still under construction, still developing cities, developing infrastructure. So the West didn't see as much combat, but interestingly enough, the final battles of the Civil War were in those western regions. And they were usually small skirmishes between forces like Stan Wadey's troops and federal troops. Didn't always end very well, and often, like in the case of soldiers like Jesse James, for instance, who fought for the Confederacy, those Confederates went off to create their own militia groups after the war. Nathan B. Forrest is a great example. Went on to create the KKK after the war, and for a long time was a bit of a hustler. He would move around, steal from pro-union areas, burn down their houses. You know, definitely a rough guy. Now here we go, a nice, beautiful victory at the battle of Forts Lookout. I think that should be Fort Lookout, Diamond, and Southern Lookout. No, Forts Lookout, Diamond, and Southern. So 3 forts. And we managed to take it with General Edmund K. Smith. He's been my favorite so far. We even managed to fight some Yazoo sailors. Yes, the Red River sailors are known as the Yazoo sailors. Pretty cool name there. And we're continuing, trying to catch some more of these sailors if we can. But I think Malvern, Arkansas is pretty safe. And we won in Natchez. Beautiful, guys. Keep it up, boys. 3 victories. Beautiful Confederate victory in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we killed 1,000 enemies, didn't lose a single guy, totally wiped out the Knoxville, Tennessee garrison. And Tennessee is a highly pro-Southern state, so I don't think they're going to get very good treatment in the prison camps. Unfortunately, major Confederate defeat there under Ramseur. And can Hardee stand up to Grant? Or Sherman, I should say. No, he can't, but he did manage to get more casualties. I knew he wasn't going to stand up to him. I mean, 27,000 men standing up against 72,000, plus 17,000 cavalry. I mean, come on, guys. This is like 85,000 men against a force of 30,000. We couldn't possibly stand against them, but at least we put up a little fight. A very little fight, mind you. Okay, day 15 of 15. The best of days, I presume. We'll take this guy here and start moving him up this way. I don't want to run into this guy in Beaufort, North Carolina, though. He is a problem. Let's try to take back these areas. They're not under, well, the city is not under Union control, but the territory surrounding the city certainly is. Try to build a military fort. And as for good old Robert E. Lee, he's going to have to go ahead and try and take control of this, because right now Richmond is under control of the Union. They haven't breached the city, but they're at the city gates. Let's take a look here at the chat. Interesting. So Messi is saying that the Confederates had plans to become a colonial nation. They wanted Brazil for their rubber and Cuba, but none came to fruition when they lost the Civil War. It's a very interesting read. Yeah, absolutely. I always love reading about the Civil War and the American Civil War in particular. The American Civil War, the Russian Civil War, and the Spanish Civil War, I would say, are my three most interesting and favorite sort of civil wars. At least the ones I've researched the most. Okay, I think we're going to end it there. We could try using some actions to disrupt the enemy, but right now, the enemy is in a very good position. And this is very true with most Age-Odd games. Remember, a lot of the Age-Odd games, of course, a tremendous amount has to do with luck, but some has to do with chance. So if you're not doing extremely well in a scenario, don't feel bad about rage quitting. Like, if you're getting absolutely crushed like we are now, we made a lot of mistakes. We moved away from Richmond. We sent armies every which way, and now the enemy's overwhelming us. You can always restart, and believe it or not, the outcomes you're going to get in certain battles are going to change dramatically, depending on you know, how you perform and what changes you make. I'm sure that if I kept playing this, I could eventually do pretty well, and that's just kind of part of the game. By the way, you can see here the state of places like West Virginia, even at this point, and Kentucky. You can see that over here, they're actually developing the territory. So even West Virginia and Kentucky, which were both involved in the war, are still pretty underdeveloped. So you can imagine that's why the West did not have many battles. Now, West Virginia is not in the West, but it's just an example. Okay, let's end the turn. Come on, boys. You could do this. Maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. All right, here we go. Fingers crossed. We still got tremendous land under our control, but it's not enough. Oh, yeah. That's a win. And we caught him. So we caught Sickles, guys, and we probably took Sickles prisoner. Look at that. We destroyed everything he had. 202 lost by Ewell, but we chased Sickles to Fort Richard, and we took it. That's a great victory there. If we only had those kind of victories continually, then we would have easily won this campaign. And they're storming the walls of Richmond. They have taken Richmond, guys. They've taken the Confederate capital. That right there would basically be a GG in terms of the Civil War. And there we go. Hello, we've got a sheep. Good to see you. All right, so a nasty, nasty battle in Knoxville, Tennessee. Longstreet lost, but he took out so many of Hooker's men there. I'm sure they're not going to be happy about that. As you guys know also, during the Civil War, even if you got a wound, like a leg wound or an arm wound, probably losing that limb. So even a wound wouldn't be a very good situation here. I'm surprised we lost there at Natchez. I expected for us to win, but it looks like Henry Slocum had just a little more fighting power. I was worried Ragnar would spot our men there. And here's Hardy against Grant. Against Sherman, excuse me. And, okay, Confederate defeat, but look at how many men Sherman lost. That's been our best battle yet in terms of enemy casualties. Considering Sherman's army, though, numbers well over 50,000 men, that is 1/5 of his fighting force. I mean, that's not bad. A lot of units here took some pretty nasty hits, and our men came out not unscathed, but certainly knowing that they killed a lot of Federal troops there. Now, that is the Battle of Atlanta. So Atlanta is the capital of Georgia. I would expect us to put a pretty major emphasis there. So as you can see here, we were completely shattered. In fact, we didn't even get to the end of the 41 turns, which just goes to show you can actually lose before the end of the campaign. And here, we were totally annihilated. We had like 1 or 2 decent victories. That's about it. I mean, any number of things can occur here, and you can actually see them presenting the flag of Dixie rolled up to the U.S. forces, and that's sort of the ultimate form of surrender, is to present your battle flag to the enemy. So let's head back to the main menu. We are getting close to the end of the stream here, so I do want to probably just go around and give you guys an idea of what you can expect from the game in terms of content. So I'm going to jump in here to new. I'm not going to read all of these, but I'm going to mouse over them, click them, so that if you guys want to come back to the stream later when we've uploaded it, you can actually go ahead and read these individually and decide what you'd like to play. So Making Georgia Howl is one scenario we did in the last Civil War stream where I played as General Sherman. And what I was able to do was I was able to beat the Confederacy. But this is a very, very controversial actual part of the war known as Sherman's March South. And basically he burned a ton of Confederate homes. I don't think he actually killed any civilians, at least not intentionally, but he certainly burned down their homes, sent them out, took their food. Many of them probably died from famine, things like that. And YouTube actually demonetized my video because of that, which really shocked me. But it was a fun win. I actually uploaded it to my own channel. We've also got Thunder at the Crossroads here. This is the Gettysburg battle scenario. That is a favorite amongst many. And yes, I've won as the Confederacy in that one. Again, a lot has to do with luck. The West scenario. This is the West Theater scenario. And I do want to touch upon this one eventually. It's one of those parts of the Civil War, along with the guerrilla battles in between the forces in places like Kentucky, West Virginia, and a few other states that aren't really touched upon nearly as much. And I'm glad that this game touches upon them, because it really allows you to get a look at the many facets of this war. And as you can see, you could do a grand campaign from multiple locations. You could do a grand campaign for the East. You could do a grand campaign for the West, the South, or you could just do a grand campaign. And of course, you can always do the main battles. From what I've seen, we've got Gettysburg, we've got Shiloh, and we've also got Bull Run. And I believe we've also got the second battle of Bull Run, but that actually makes itself into its own campaign. As always, you've got the load options here to load previously saved games. As for options here, if you guys don't like the battle animations, personally, I love them. I like to hear the muskets, firing off. I like to hear the guys yelling and screaming. Then you can just turn this all the way down, and the battle will resolve automatically. As you can see, I've also turned music off, but the game has a score, a Civil War score, that is out of this world. The game is also sponsored by the Civil War Trust, and the Civil War Trust is essentially trying to keep America's battlefields alive, well taken care of, and sort of try to promote Civil War history. So for a game to actually be supported by a historical organization like them, that is huge. And that's why the game has so many specifics down to the name of individual units. So, for instance, we saw the colored brigades, we saw a bunch of different skirmisher brigades that were just, maybe 60 to 80 men, and they're all represented in the game. So I really, really love that addition. Let's take a look here. Welcome, Muggins. And yeah, there's this special sheep. Interestingly enough, the sheep is also the final boss in Civil War II. In fact, I know of very few games that we actually play here where the sheep is not the final boss. Goat's the final boss in one of them, but the sheep definitely remains the final boss. So what I am going to do here before we sign off, I will just open up one of the bigger scenarios, and probably the biggest one. Let's take a look back here. Is going to be the full Civil War, the full theater campaign. So this actually follows the history of the Civil War itself. So you've got, of course, the initial bombardment by the Confederates on Fort Sumter before anything happens. You know, starting off, if you take a look here, you don't have really any men because the war hasn't actually begun yet. Well, the Confederate States have declared, of course, a secession, but it's going to begin with the attack on Fort Sumter, and from there, a ton of new things starts to happen. We've also got a bunch of new political options available, which we can just find by pressing F4, and obviously, if you're playing the entire war, you're going to get a lot more political options throughout the game as to, for instance, if you were just playing a battle. So there's a lot of different things we can do. We can even offer territorial concessions to the foreign powers, the British and the French, to try to get them to help us. But I've never done that. I would never give up any of my territory to do concessions, but I just think it's kind of interesting. You also get historical facts. So once the Battle of Fort Sumter begins and is over, you'll actually get an option down here, which will pop up down here in the scripted events area, where you can actually read about the Battle of Fort Sumter and get some insight in case you weren't aware of it or didn't know a lot about it, essentially. That being said, guys, we are coming to the end of this stream. I do want to thank you guys all for voting for this stream. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with next Friday. That being said, we're going to have to see how the schedule is next Friday. I'm in the process of moving, so I've got a lot of stuff I've got to do here on my end, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do a stream every single day of the week, but as always, guys, I'm always here to entertain you. Agrippa Maxentius is here to make sure you guys have a fun time. So I will do my best to be there as many times as possible, and we will keep on keeping on. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. It was awesome to hear from all of you, and let's jump into the Civil War for a future stream. Oh, yes, it is. The Gettysburg Historical Site. I've been there actually twice, and while I'm not a believer in ghosts or the paranormal or anything like that, walking across the Gettysburg battlefield, particularly near the I guess the Pickett's Charge sort of area, specifically the fence area where the Union was hiding and firing at the enemy, I just felt a very eerie feeling, like just kind of a still, eerie, creepy feeling. I'm not sure if that's a ghost or anything, but it certainly is an awe-inspiring place. Yeah, humbling place, exactly. I think that's probably what that feeling was. You just stand there and realize how many men dropped dead there, and it overwhelms you. It really does. Well, guys, thank you again. Take care, and as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.